Hi there, this is Tyler, and I am here with a group from the Gauntlet, some of the best gamers in the whole wide world. If you are interested in gaming, if you like finding people who have fun gaming, take care of each other, and play a multitude of games, then you should come and join us. You can find us at gauntlet-rpg.com. We have a Facebook presence. We're on Twitter. We have a forum. You can come and find us there. We have a Patreon if you'd like to be to support us. We put out a zine which has all kinds of interesting games. It is a heck of a community. Please come and join us. Again, gauntlet-rpg.com. And we're going to be playing one of my favorite games in the whole wide world, Space Wurm versus Moonicorn by Johnstone Metzger. And we're playing the, I consider, misnamed Quick Start because it is so much. I can't see how anyone would be satisfied with just one session. So we're going to play 8. The first session is going to be making our galaxy. And we've already kind of established here before we started playing some of our safety tools, which we have the X card, we have Alliance and Veils, and we have the Gauntlet Code of Conduct. Folks at home, I urge you, put safety tools in your game. It makes your game better. And we've also figured out who's going to be Space Wurm and who's going to be Moonicorn. And we'll come to that in just a moment. Our other 3 players, though, are figuring what playbooks they're going to take. And I'll be finding that out in a moment as well. So, with that in mind, the beginning of our game, Space Wurm, you must choose. And if you would introduce yourself and kind of give us the name of the Space Wurm. And you are muted, my love. I'm sorry.
So I think I am simply a magnificent star. Simple sound, beautiful intonation. That is all, and that is don't have to be ostentatious about these things. And I think that I am taking off the table a couple of things. Do you want me to go ahead and establish those things?
Yes, if you would.
I think we have no need in this game for religion or the secret police.
Excellent choices. And what sectors of the galaxy is Space Wurm in control of?
Well, of course I hold the Imperial throne by divine right. No religion, but there is a divinity, and that is me. And I also control interstellar transit.
Ooh,
if you wish to travel the galaxy, then you pass through my hands. Excellent. That leaves aliens, the spice, and cybernetics for any miscreants that wish to pick that up.
I would like to bring up the spice, which is a reference, I think, to Dune. But in this game, the spice is kind of the one thing that all the galaxy needs, wants. It's that special something. And when we come to it, we'll figure out what that special something is.
Self-healing stem bolts.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
We need them.
And we'll have each person is going to kind of take lead in one of those other of our 3 non-Space Wurm Moonicorn. We'll kind of take lead in building those, and we'll come to those in just a minute. So, Moonicorn, would you introduce yourself, and what is the name of Moonicorn?
Muted.
You are muted, my love.
I just have to get it out of the way, get the one on muting, and then I'll be good, right? Yes. So this Moonicorn is named Chanama, and they, I don't know what else to say. They're lovely, and they recreate themselves every day according to the signs.
All right. I love it. And I'm going to, before we move further, go over our lines and veils, just so we'll know before we start building things kind of what's going on. For folks at home, lines and veils, and we also have an ask first. If something is a line, we're just flat out not going to have it in our game. We just, don't need it. It's not something that's going to be around. Veil is something that exists in the game, but we're not going to focus on it. We're going to fade to black, or we're going to keep that off screen. And ask first is if we're going to engage with it, we're going to kind of ask the table, say, I'm thinking of this. Does anyone mind? Is this okay? And that way we all know that we're going to have a comfortable gaming experience. And our lines, things that just won't be in our game, is harm to animals, sexual assault, suicide, torture, virus, plagues, and pandemics. Yes, yes, yes. And dental horror. Our veils are eye injuries, sexual content, and homophobia. And our ask first is bullying. All right. So, and keep in mind, if anybody has something they'd like to add, I will try to go back, and especially after each break and before we start each session, I will go back in, review those, remind us of them. And we have the X card there as kind of our fallback if something occurs in the game. So, I'm going to go around and see who else we have as our characters in our game. And I'm going to start clockwise for me, I believe. Stephen, what playbook have you chosen? You are muted, my love.
So to check in about how this works, I remember in the full play, like the regular game, you're supposed to pick a sector you're associated with.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still in the quick play?
What we'll do is once we hear who all three of the characters are, then yeah, I'll have what each of you will be kind of taking on, helping define that and being associated with one of those three remaining sectors. So like if we end up with someone who's playing a robot, they'll almost certainly be the one who's in charge of helping define out robots and will be associated with that sector.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm looking at maybe the mogul or the love.
Mogul or lover? All right. Both of which are cool. I love that mogul. All right. So we have two possibilities. Bethany, what are you thinking of?
They're all the names are all so good that I keep like, oh no, maybe that one, maybe that one, maybe that one. But I think I'm looking at either the Barbarian of the Red Planet or the Space Ranger.
Very interesting. All righty. And Patrick, any that are catching your fancy?
I mean, like half of them.
Which is a lot.
Yeah. I think I like the Serpent Princess.
Very nice. Well, it doesn't sound like we have any conflicts with the ones that have been suggested. So, Bethany, think you could decide on that, or you want to have a little more time to think?
Let me scroll through the moves here.
Okie dokie. Certainly, feel free. How about you, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm just flipping back and forth myself, just comparing them quickly.
Okie doke. Take a few moments there. And what we're going to do, let's see. Pulling up, I have so many tabs. With our fronts, we see on our character keeper there, we're going to define down what this looks like. And this is one of my favorite parts of the game here, is coming up with all of the cool things that make up our galaxy. So while the two of you are thinking, we might could take a look at the first front, and it might kind of help get an idea of what's going on to help you narrow down your choices. So, Lowell, why don't we define up the Imperial Throne? And you'll get to make some choices here, but of course, we also want to make sure that we're getting some input all around, so that it's got that collaborative feel. But you're taking lead because, of course, you are controlling it. And the important thing to remember, for things you control, including things you take later, you're able to use them as narrative positioning. They're resources that will be available to you. So, the Imperial Throne, if the galaxy's government is unified, there has to be someone on the top, and that's the throne. If it's controlled by Space Wurm, she can have a puppet on the throne or be sitting on it herself. If not, someone else is the Emperor of the galaxy. What makes them less powerful and important than Space Wurm? So, Lowell, rate each of the following resources: average, strong, or weak. Want to name those off and rate them?
Okay, hang on one second. I'm sorry, I was still in the picture hunting phase. So I'm going to put that picture in.
Always
okay,
the most important part.
Yes, run me down on this.
Okay.
On
We have the legal frameworks, the market regulations, the military power, the popular support, and the revenue collection. And this will be whether or not the Imperial Throne itself is strong, average, or weak in each of those areas. And you should decide if you believe that Space Wurm is the actual Emperor. If, say, legal framework is strong, it means that our galaxy has a good judiciary. The laws are clearly defined for everyone in the galaxy, in the Imperium. There are officials that are taking care of that. If it's average, you would imagine that they're, let's think kind of the modern world. It's known to everyone, but there's things that slip through the cracks, and probably people are not overwhelmed and dominated by it. If it's weak, then there's probably corruption and bribery, and laws are enforced on a more selective basis.
So I choose.
You do.
To start. Interesting. Well, the only one I know is that. So let's make that weak.
Oh, making the legal framework weak?
Yes.
All right. So I'll put a W there for weak. How does that look? What does that? How does
the galaxy
that look
is just too big? Where the gaze of the Space Wurm falls, their justice is present, but the Space Wurm cannot see everything, cannot be everywhere, and so there is a certain amount of autonomy in decisions that happens on that level.
Does Space Wurm? I'm guessing then you are the Emperor.
Oh yes.
Okay. Do you allow planet side, various planets, for them to exercise justice as they see fit? Or do you have something that you expect of them, but only when you pay attention it happens? How do you figure?
When we ask, they should show their dutifulness and be ready to, but we give them the freedom of those choices outside of this.
All right. I like it.
Our hand is a gentle one.
Of course. Oh, magnificent one. Now I'm going to go around and let other people put in a suggestion for it. In the end, Space Wurm, you will get final decision on these. But we can hear from others how they feel that this is set up. So, Bethany, what do you think the market regulations are like? So, commerce. Is the Imperial Throne heavy on the commerce, or is it more laissez-faire?
Well, controlling both the Imperial Throne and interstellar transport, I feel like interstellar transport. I would say it's probably pretty strong.
I like that idea. Space worms, that makes sense to you as well?
Absolutely. Will defer to your decision on this point.
So, Bethany, do you think this means that there is like imperial monopolies? Or do you think that it's more along the lines that while the laws are sort of tax collection is very important? How do you see that?
I'm thinking the latter. I think that that is a law that it's difficult to get around. I'm thinking of like during Prohibition, it was the IRS that enforced the laws. that kind of situation.
I love it. That's fantastic. All righty. Well, Patrick, that brings us over to you. Military power. What do we think the Imperial Throne's military power looks like?
I don't know. I sort of feel like if Space Worm is going to have the Imperial Throne, they should have all the big guns and troops and all the overwhelming might that we could never possibly win against, or you could never possibly win against, because, of course, I'm on Space Worm's side. Love me.
I don't think I necessarily need to be too strong. I mean, I don't think that needs to be a strength. I'm fine with average on that, Patrick.
Okay, no. If you've got an idea of how Space Worm wants to handle that, I will defer to you.
All righty. Well, then, with an average, Patrick, what would we say a typical look of the Imperial military is? What is it when we see the Imperial military that first jumps out? Like if it's the Star Wars Imperial, we think of the Star Destroyer. That's always the symbol of the Empire. What's the thing that everybody goes, oh, that's the Imperium?
I think sort of merging the approaches. It's not something nearly as big as a Star Destroyer, because what the hell? But the sort of central piece of the Imperial Throne's military force are these big sort of hulking gunships that just end up being like, they don't have a lot of the small starfighter ground game of enforcing themselves. So they're good against fleets, armadas, that sort of thing, but they're very bad against smaller groups, individuals, things like that. There are a lot of things that fly under their ability to hit.
Ooh, does that sound good, Space Worm? That seem neat?
Absolutely. I think that provides a good space for the other characters.
And I like that since it's average, there probably aren't a ton of those. So it's more like when Space Worm turns their gaze, you have one of those present, but more often than not, people don't see those.
I inherited this military from my father. He put much of his attention on it, and it's been less of my interests.
Lovely. Well, Stephen, we come to you for popular support. What do we think the Imperium's support of the people is?
I mean, I think, considering the week is already off the table, I think probably, I feel like with what's been set up, probably average. I feel like that there's perhaps a core of like the core worlds that it extracts resources for, where the support is probably higher, but it more or less rules through the right of having the big gunships to take what they want.
Okay. So what are we thinking? Average?
Yeah, because I think there can only be 1 week, right?
No. It could all be.
Yeah, no. It says I have the Imperial Throne, so it's
Oh,
two
that's true.
strong, two
That's
average, and one
That's
weak.
right. There we go.
I regretfully, and I hate to do this, but there are only two things left, and I feel very strongly about the populace. And if there's one strong and one average left, I would dearly love for my support among the populace to be strong.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we're going to push that up to strong. And Stephen, I'd like to ask, what are the festivals? What are the visible display that the people have to celebrate their wondrous emperor?
So I'm just thinking back to this one scene from this French comic Love Doll, but like, let me know if this is all the kind of thing you envisioned for your that, like, there are these scenes where the tyrant would appear in a vast mech suit and just randomly immolate members of the population who would they'd all be competing for it because they'd been chosen to be immolated by the tyrant.
A sort of hero worship coming
Yes.
down. Absolutely. Sometimes they have to make pilgrimages up great cliffs to come and visit, and then I will grant them a wish.
Ooh, I like.
Assuming that wish is their subservience.
But there's a beneficence that
Yes.
comes from my will.
Wonderful. Well, Moonicorn, it seems like then we know that revenue collection is just average. But I'd like to hear, because I think this might be something that Moonicorn would be interested in, or at least aware of. Where are the riches of the Imperium collected and stored? What is the place of the great wealth of the Imperium? You're muted, my love.
You see, at the center of all of the gates, there is a lodestone, so to speak, a place that all the other ships cannot see except for the Imperial yacht, and that is where the greatest riches, the greatest treasures are kept. It is in a hidden vault. Interstellar. It requires that gift of flight, that passage through those zones, and the ability to scan for and find that thing.
Ooh, so kind of linked to Space Worm's control of transport is also this hidden vault. That sound good, Space Worm?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, we're going to scoot down a little bit to some of these questions that are, I'm not going to do every one of them, but Lowell, why don't you look there on the where Imperial Throne's set up underneath it? You see there's some questions. Why don't you pick one that you would like to answer there?
I think I'm going to play off of what Stephen suggested. The how pervasive is the image of the Imperial Throne in popular culture. I think the Emperor is the throne. It is worked into the motifs of all things. It is an image that is important. I have my own generic foodstuffs that are marked with the Imperial Throne. Get your thronies, and just I think it is each emperor changes the throne slightly, the image of it to kind of represent their rule. So I think it's very pervasive.
I like that. Moonicorn, do you see where we're talking there underneath Imperial Throne setup? There are some questions.
Mm-hmm.
pick one of those that you would like to answer, and we'll have Moonicorn kind of decide something here as well.
I think, what is the imperial bureaucracy like?
Mm.
And it is vast and Byzantine, and it is fraught with nepotism. In fact, it is all of the nobles and the lords are in fact civil servants to the emperor and to the worlds upon which they live. And they are supposed to live lives of service and, how should we say, duty and virtue, to be beyond corruption. Which is why they live in fear of Space Wurm, because it is no problem at all for him to order them to be. And that's another one of his popular things, is he takes out bureaucrats in a given planet that have been corrupt, and the people love that.
I'm putting that in. Laura, if you would put in the one you answered. Let's see, the noble families are in control. And there is, I won't be able to spell nepotism, but I'll try. And corruption. I can spell that. All right. And then I'm going to have one more answered, because it may be that, Patrick, you have something that could be involved here. Is there an heir to the throne, or is the succession uncertain? Because I believe you're playing the Serpent Princess.
Oh, I mean, the succession is very much uncertain. It's up in the air. No one knows who could be the one that Space Wurm chooses to bestow all of his power and glory and beneficence and attention and love and attention and power onto.
And attention.
Just look at me.
All right, then. So right now, succession is sort of up in the air. Space Wurm, is that because you want to kind of play off people so that they don't know yet? Or do you intend to never need a successor?
I think that I know that they will do their dance. They will do their games, and when it becomes necessary, I will look into that. But for now, why not let them play in their gardens and their palaces?
Excellent. I love it. All right, and Patrick, if you'll kind of put that in. And we're going to come down. I've asked some questions out of each of the segments there. But I'm going to have, we haven't had Stephen or Bethany ask any questions yet. So, Bethany, looking there at legal frameworks, is there one of those questions that appeals that you would like to know more about? And Stephen, I'm going to have you do market regulation, because both of those seem like interesting spots. Bethany, what you think?
Yeah, I would like to know what the average person's contact with the legal system and the judiciary looks like.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for that, or do you just want to see what Space Wurm has to say about it?
I don't have any suggestions. So.
All right. Space Wurm, what do the average people see of the legal framework?
Well, we talked about it being loose, and so there is a certain difficulty with the corruption. But I imagine that there are petitioner boxes that the populace can go to speak their minds, and that there's a certain amount of it being based on pull and influence and so on, and maybe there's a pyramid scheme for getting your wishes up the chain there in some way.
Oh, I
I like that. So there's a direct, the ability to appeal to Space Worm, but even in that, it's
It goes
not fair.
through a level of things.
Mm. Ooh, I
There's
love
and I just say it's the algorithm.
What can you do? All right, Stephen, is there one that you would like to, for market regulation, define down or open up to Space Worm?
Yeah. Since we were kind of talking that the market regulation here is primarily the ability to... I'm curious, what products and services are illegal or prohibited within the within your empire?
That's a good question.
I think everything is free. Everything is free. Well, except works of art and literature have to be approved by authorities. So those things, books, music, plays, art, representation, those things are transphysical objects and can have a weight that can be dangerous. So we have to regulate those more tightly, and there are black market books and things like that slip through, and those are the real contraband.
Nice. Oof, that's icky. Or
right.
All right, of course. All right. And then we're going to end on the questions on these because I like for Moonicorn to always get, since Moonicorn doesn't have a lot of opportunities to define down, choose any one of the other three, which would be military power, popular support, revenue collection. And is there something in there you would like to define down or ask of Space Worm?
I think that one of the things with the military power is that much like the bureaucracy, the military is also another outlet for the nobility, and that much of its struggle is between the sons of know-nothings and essentially the people who actually know how to deploy and use military tactics. So there is a strange dichotomy that occurs in that, where there are a lot of show officers and things like that, and then there's a separate crew, and there is a charade that has to go on when orders are being given from Space Worm on down, that essentially the nobles are told or the crew is told, and hopefully they work together.
I like that. That puts a really nice wrinkle into our military. Bravo. All right. And then we're going to end with Space Worm, the assets of galactic civilization. The Imperial Throne or its vassals might control one or more of these. What are the things that the Imperial Throne controls?
Let's see. I'm going to pick 2 of them. That's all.
Okay. Ooh.
There'll be other things, but these are ones that I control. And I think one will be obviously garden worlds full of people.
Nice.
And 2, because I am beneficent, the agri worlds that produce the food that people need throughout the galaxy.
Very nice. All right. So I think we've got a pretty interesting look at what our Imperial Throne is. A complex Byzantine sort of structure, all underneath the loving eye of the magnificent Da. I'll come back then. Bethany, have you settled on which of your the playbooks you would like?
Yeah, I actually gonna go with the mutant.
Ooh, interesting. I think that's a cool one. Nice. And Stephen, have you settled on one for you?
I'm thinking I just kind of wanted to check in about this. Like if the Magnificent Star controls interstellar transport, would having pirates still make sense, or would that not fit?
I think that, well, let's see. Lowell, where do you think that might fall in? You're muted, my love.
You're muted.
I already kind of looked at the interstellar transport, and I imagined that there were going to be teleportation, but I imagine that has to fall within certain bands of a star system, and then there's still a journey to get to the planet. So I imagine they're in-system pirates for that would be possible. Does that sound cool?
Okay.
I like that.
I think I'll be a Moogle then.
Ooh, I love the Mogul. All right. So then, Patrick, since you have already settled on your name, do you have your playbook to find out? 1 second.
Tabs, everything's all different tabs. Sorry, I was trying to hide some columns. Yes, I do. Except for the special move. I'm still sort of waiting to hear a little more space worminess before that.
Okay.
But let's see. I
love your picture.
I found the picture and I had to settle on the playbook. But her name is Jocasta Solari. She's going to start with a power of 1, scales of 0, and a skin of 1.
Mm-hmm.
My sort of definition move is inheritance. You would be Space Worm's heir and successor, but you're currently unfit to fulfill the role, or unfit to rule. Why? And I went with, for the moment, addiction, while still leaving plenty of room and right to choose any of the other unfitnesses that I see fit. But whatever we end up centering the spice around, I think she's very heavily involved in that, and that would either be the front I'm connected to, or I could see being connected with aliens, maybe even cybernetics, really. But whether I'm connected directly to the front or not, I think she is very addicted to the spice.
Whatever our spice is. All right. Excellent.
After that, I can use Space Worm's command move every now and then, and I have a power stat as well. You see, it's just natural that I should go after Space Worm. I can let's see, give orders or take orders or defy orders, assess situations, do something dangerous, try to resist harm. I'm pretty good at trying to convince people. And that's it for the moment.
Okie doke. Thank you very much.
So you're kind of like a watered down, weaker version of Space Worm.
I'm like a refreshing, different flavor of Space Worm that no one's had the chance to try yet. I'm Space Worm 0. I'm new Space Worm.
Really? Or you're not just Space Worm Crystal?
Oh.
I know you don't really mean these things. I know you really love me.
I'm already seeing such a wonderful relationship. All right. Bethany, have you had a chance to kind of define a little bit of your character?
Not a whole lot.
It's fine.
See here. I also have a million tabs open here, so right. I have to find my character. Here it is. Yeah, I'm still kind of looking up what the stats are and how to
That's fine.
distribute them.
Let's give you. Do you want to just take a few more minutes and
yes, please.
look over? Okie doke. That's perfectly fine. And Stephen, do you need a few more moments, or do you feel able to lay out your character?
I just need a few more moments, really.
That's perfectly fine. I'm going to suggest, so that we could kind of have folks starting to think about it and look at it. I think it might be that at the moment it seems like Jocasta might be best suited for the spice front. Bethany, it sounds a little like you might be really good for the alien front. And Stephen, you would be cybernetics. But these are just kind of opening thoughts. We're going to discuss this. Stephen, what do you think of that? Because Mogul it's really going to be important, kind of your front to play with in some ways. Which would you really center yourself on? Because I could see Spice being in the Moguls.
Yeah, I was kind of drawn to Spice, but I guess if
no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Bethany, does Alien seem like it sort of fits with you?
Yeah, I could definitely do aliens.
Okay. So Patrick,
or I could do cybernetics, depending on what Patrick wants.
Okay, Patrick, what do you feel on those two?
I don't know. I sort of feel like Alien fits a little closer with the mutant. So I'm good with cybernetics.
Excellent. So when we start defining those, and you'll have a little chance here to look them over. I know there's so much we have going on. And again, since we have so many sessions, there's no rush. We can again luxuriate in all of this. So while folks are kind of centering down characters, we'll go ahead and define up Space Worm's second front, which is interstellar transport. So with interstellar transport, without the ability to move quickly between the many worlds of the galaxy, you cannot be united into a society. The great metal leviathans that travel through the vacant void, bringing people, far-flung as they are, closer together. They move people across space to new places, but they also transport culture, material, and otherwise, and resources, making life in all 8 corners of the universe not only possible, but enjoyable. So, for each of the following aspects of interstellar transport, choose a level of regulation: monopolized, restricted, or unprotected. So, Lowell, how are these, and I'm going to kind of let you define these out, and then I'm going to have other people ask questions about it, or define down questions about it.
Could I kind of start backwards and talk about because they have the different modes? Can I talk about what I'm picturing mode-wise, and then we can kind of see how it figures?
Absolutely.
So they have the teleportation, and I imagine that there's teleportation between systems, and you can't teleport too close to a big mass. So there's a certain variability and a certain distance that has to be traveled from where you teleport into to getting where you're at. And that's one of the 2 places that pirates can come in. But I imagine that the teleportation itself is kind of a psychic network, and people have to be plugged into that network, which the Space Worm kind of controls that. Though there are black market, very dangerous psychic networks for the teleportation. Mm-hmm. And I imagine that. Let me think how to put this here. That's one of the other ways actually that pirates can get in is they can do psychic hijacking to redirect teleportation to places. So there are a couple of different kinds of piracy that can happen.
All right. Oh, I like that. Okay.
So definitely Space Worm tries to monopolize teleportation technology and tries to restrict transport routes and those are the two big ones.
Okay. So
I don't imagine they can protect routes and borders that tightly, though.
Okay. It sounds like not, considering the other things. Transportation technology, was that one you were?
Yeah, that's the psychic network. I imagine
So
that
that's your
itself is-
restricted.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that is the one I want for monopolized, but the other knowledge could be restricted.
Okay. All right. What do we think of mail?
I think that's the hardest thing, like the transport of information, even though it restrict like literature and arts and things like that. I suspect that mail and the transporting of letters is the hardest thing to keep a button on. So I imagine that's unprotected.
Okay. And then the policing of transport routes, is it unprotected? Or is it restricted? As in, you have some folks there looking?
I think it's restricted, such that the pirates have some space to move in and have it still be valuable. I mean, because it's restrictions that create that value, and to give them some space to work in.
Okay. So I'm going to come to you, Moonicorn, and ask: are there any other ways to do interstellar transport besides the teleportation? You're muted, my love.
There is, but it's on an individual level, and it requires essentially, how should we say, a fairly deep alliance with the aliens that are capable of it. Essentially, if you know the right people, they can put you in contact with someone who can personally move between those borders. And different alien groups may do it differently. But essentially, it's always going to be like you and an alien go at most, or you're sent by them or something. It's very expensive and very dangerous.
So, Lowell, does that fit all right with you, that there is a sort of hidden network of individuals capable?
Yes, for the moment.
And you mentioned, of course, there's like black market, but very dangerous for moving like ships or stuff like that. So I'm going to ask.
We're willing to take the risk.
So I'm going to ask Stephen, what are the dangers? What happens when things go wrong in the teleportation?
I think the thing that comes through might look and sound like the thing that was sent off, but it's inhabited by something else.
Ooh, I love it. So there's like potential of whole ships of something that has come through wrong, or that is very cool. Bethany, since Space Wurm has this kind of monopoly, how expensive is it for people to travel? Is it something that people can do reasonably, or is it only the wealthy?
It's the way people who aren't super wealthy travel is to work in they basically will take a temporary job in order to travel.
Ooh, I like
and
it.
that's how things get done. A lot of times it's just from the people passing through. There aren't a whole lot of like permanent transport people.
That's very, very cool. Patrick, we've heard that it is, it is a monopolized thing of the routes and all of this, but trade has to be occurring through it. Do you think that this is because we have like whole guilds that handle this, or is it something that comes off of a license to individual ships, or how do you think the groundwork of trade going through the interstellar process happens?
I like the idea of guilds, especially if this is still connected to Space Worm and the Imperial Throne. There's probably a lot of like regulation and structuring around people who can move mass things through the networks.
Cool. So I'll ask you, Lowell, Magnificent Da, what is it that the guilds have to do to be given this privilege? What does the Magnificent Da expect of the guilds when he produces this opportunity for them?
I think that there's obviously a certain exchange of wealth that goes on. There, is the visible support, but I also think that amongst the guild people that are granted charters, grants, monopolies, beneficence, all of these things, that of course in exchange they send their young ones to study in the great garden worlds of the space worm, to learn and to be able to return and talk about what they've seen and spread that throughout. They might come back a little bit different when they return from those places, but it's just that they've been on a good long vacation.
Excellent. I love it. And Moonicorn, you are the embodiment of freedom. Have you found a way to go transporting without the permission of Space Worm? Are you reliant on Space Worm's largesse?
Oh, that's interesting.
Because really only Moonicorn would have this kind of option.
Exactly. I think that she has always teleported around without realizing that Magnificent Da, has any control over it. If that makes any sense. She, like for her, the Between is a place where she goes for what she considers inspiration. But it's a wild phantasm set of lurid images and strangeness and emotional bombardment. She's in a place and then she's in another place.
Then I think this is a marvelous moment. Sherry, why don't you introduce your character? Tell us about Moonicorn.
Moonicorn. Okay, so Moonicorn is she has been forever as far as she knows, or maybe only for a day. She's not sure. She is where she is, and she is always looking for a way to change the harmonies of the place that she is in. She has a desire for a particular sympathy. So essentially, she will go to a place and something will be off or wrong, and she will attempt to change it. And if her understanding of the thing is the same as the people that she is working with, that's lovely, but I don't think that she is always particularly aware of their sense of what it is that she is messing with.
Ooh, I like it. Why don't you run through Moonicorn's moves?
This is awesome. So my moves are all built off of integrity. And so this is a sort of currency that I have. I gain integrity when I follow through on something important I said I was going to do. And then also if I share an intimate moment with someone without crossing the line. And if I stand up to authority, or if I take the moral high ground, which is essentially adhering to all of her sympathies that she is. And she loses all of her integrity if she does any of the following: attacks someone unprovoked, betrays or lies to someone, has sex with someone, kills someone. But some of my moves will ask me to spend integrity, which requires me to have integrity plus 1 or more. So, and then of my moves, my special move is that if I declare another PC to be my one and only true love during the game and they reciprocate, in that case, nothing I do for or on behalf of my true love causes me to lose integrity, unless I spend it when I take a stand or use a special move to give myself the boost. When you make a move that tells you to lower your integrity by 1, you can cross off a bond you have with someone that you are helping or being helped by instead. Your integrity will then remain the same. And halfway through the game, I get to write new bonds with each of the other PCs based on what has already happened. Let's see here. Should I go through all of them?
Yeah, just run through them since everybody has different ones.
Yeah, we kind of do, don't we? So assess. For Moonicorn, when they assess a situation, they can ask a question about it and roll with their integrity score. On a 10 plus, the question is answered. The GM will tell you, or the PC, if I ask the PC, that will tell me all I need to know. On a 7 to 9, the GM tells me something useful and interesting. And on a 6 or less, the GM tells me something interesting and introduces a complication. That sounds very gentle indeed. I have a move called I Believe in You. And when someone else rolls less than 10 for a move, I can look them in the eye, tell them that I believe in them, and it'll lower my integrity by 1. But I'm not lying. I just need to think it very hard, so don't worry. Unless it is already 0. And then if I do this thing, their roll will change from a 7 to 9 to a 10 plus, or from a 6 minus to a 7 to 9. Next one is first encounter authority. When I first encounter an authority figure or institution, GM must do one of these. It's their choice, though. They may reveal a lack of responsibility on the part of this authority or by this authority. They may reveal a resource that this authority is lacking, or they can reveal corruption within this authority. So, gives me an idea of a weakness of that authority. Now, my other move is take a stand. When I take a stand or expose myself to danger, I can lower my integrity by 1 to choose an option from this list. 1, I can draw the immediate attention of everyone around me. 2, I can inspire someone watching me, but the GM decides who it is that I inspire. 3, I can reveal my true feelings for someone without using any words. It's all the vibe. That's all it is. Eye contact, the good stuff. 4, I can suffer no harm or personal consequences from the danger. I may do this as many times as I like. If I have no integrity left, the GM tells me what the consequences are of doing these things. And then my lastest move is try to convince. When I try to convince an NPC to believe in me, I roll with my integrity. On a 10 plus, they do what I want if I back them up and help them do it. On a 7 and 9, they'll give you an opportunity to prove yourself, but only believe in you if you show them results. On a 6 minus, the GM tells me the consequences of my unfortunate choice.
And have you chosen your special move yet?
I don't know which
That's
one
fine.
is. So I have not. So I have to go and look for a special move. Oh boy, here I go. I'm on it.
Okie doke.
Okay.
So, what we're going to do next is we're going to go around and we'll introduce those other characters and get their defined down their front. But let's take a break real quick here. why don't we do? Let's just go ahead and do 12 minutes so that we come back at the half of the hour, and then we'll get more of our wondrous galaxy. See y'all shortly. Try and center my camera up a little bit more. I realized I was just peeking over the top of my name. How are you doing, Bethany? Oops, you're gone.
I somehow forgot where the mute button was on here. Clicking the camera button instead. Even though I've used StreamYard 3 times in the last 3 days, you'd think I would know where things are.
Game making sense? Seem fun?
Yeah, it does. There is a lot to it.
This setup there is a good bit of this world build, but I think it lays a nice formation for what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy world building, so it's always
Me
good.
too. All righty, we'll have Stephen back here in a moment. Apparently, all of social media has submitted to our president's presence. All right, Stephen's back. Yay. All right. So, we're going to move on to our next character and their front.
I did pick my special move if you want to get that off.
Oh, I would. I'd love to hear it. What you got?
So I chose Speak from the Heart. I can communicate effectively with anyone and everyone in my presence, whether they're alien, animal, or human being.
Ooh. Oh, I like that. And keeping in mind, we will get a second of those moves somewhere in the middle. So, Patrick, you've already kind of given us your character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and have you be last for your front, and then we'll start your bonds once you define your front, and then we'll come back through and get everybody's bonds. So, Stephen, do you feel like you're able to introduce your character and we can define down your front?
Yeah, I'm playing Golden Tear, the Mogul, leader of the Broken Tears, a pirate clan that intercepts the shipments of goods en route to these loci of psychic travel.
Nice. And why don't you go down and tell us your stats and your moves?
My stats are Authority of 1, Old Guard of -1, and Young Turk of +1. And my moves are that I have an organization which I have certain pillars that I can just let me do things. I can summon loyal personnel to my presence anytime it would be feasible. I can send lieutenants to do my bidding. And I have control of factories that manufacture goods used by my organization, and I have access to these goods. I assume that this in factories here might be more quote unquote, but more like black market ports and the general flow of pirated goods.
Nice.
I can also ask my underlings to basically ask my underlings for information about something. Do something dangerous, which is when I do stuff with or without my underlings backing me up. And I basically roll a stat depending on what I am doing. And then I can also try to convince when I persuade NPCs who want something I offer. And I also, rather than bonds, people owe me, and I can cash those in to do things to start with. At the start, both Magnificence Da and Chinama begin both owing me 1 to begin with.
Excellent. All right. And you're going to keep all of your pillars of your organization. You're not going to start with one taken.
Oh, I can choose to start with 1 lost?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I had misread that. I thought that I just had to start with all of them already controlled.
No, you may choose to
I
have lost
see. I missed
one.
that last sentence.
Right, if you'd like. You don't have to, but it will go ahead and give you a special move if you want.
Yeah, I think I'll start. Yeah, I'll start with having no loyal lieutenants.
Ooh.
But I will pick up the move. Reputation.
Ooh, and tell us what that is.
When I first meet someone who's heard of you, I roll plus authority, and it lets me dictate things that they already have heard about me.
Nice. Excellent. And you're ruling over, or helping, not ruling over, you're defining down the spice front. And as I mentioned, the spice is that certain something, that thing that all the galaxy wants. It's any single commodity or resource that carries the entire weight of galactic civilization on its shoulders.
Oh yeah, and just to play into this, I think also because I think the side effects part is something Jocasta might care more about, but it's straight up. I think that the spice is used as a vital resource in empowering the psychics. You cannot have psychics without the spice, and thus you cannot
Nice.
have interstellar transportation without the spice.
Ooh, very cool. Do you wish to choose any more on that list, or is that it?
I think, yeah, I think that. No, I think that that's the part. I want to keep it to that. Yeah.
Okay. So, since Space Worm doesn't control it, the player whose character is linked to the spice picks one from the 3 categories, and you did. And then passes to their right. The next 2 players pick one category each. So,
Or one category.
Yeah.
Because technically you can pick more than one for some of them.
Correct. So, to your right on my screen looks like Patrick. No, I'm sorry, it's Sherry.
So I'm choosing essentially
The spices also
Oh, okay.
are the spices most commonly found in.
Well, of course, we've already established what are the things it is, that it's a psychic booster. But I like the idea that it's an emotional or physiological stimulant as well. Like it makes you feel euphoric and powerful. That's why it's pretty addictive.
Awesome. And is that those 2? Is that all you wish to pick on it, or is
For
there
me,
anything else?
yes. Or do you?
You get to choose on this category. This is
Oh,
your category.
all mine.
All
is there
yours.
something that anyone wants, Patrick?
I mean, it should probably have some sort of downside.
Well, let's see here. Answer bending. Okay, let's make it capable of bending time and space around it, because that's an awesome set of side effects.
Nice. All right. And the next would be going to the Magnificent Da. But do you mind terribly, Lowell, if I instead shifted over to one of the other PCs?
No. By all means, please do that. Absolutely, I would not wish to put you out.
Ah, thank you, oh magnificent one. Bethany, you get to choose then the spices most commonly found in, and there's a little click button down below it that will show you.
Oh, okay. Cool. Which of these is least convenient? I'm gonna go with gaseous form.
Neat. All righty. So we're gonna select in gaseous form. All right. So Stephen, I'm gonna ask a couple of these questions here. Or I'm going to ask a question here. We might have some others ask. But since, and I will read down at the bottom, the PC linked to the spice. Any PC who's linked to spice also has a link to someone who can provide the spice. You don't get to set the price, but they can always make contact. Ask the player how and why their character is so well connected. So that's the question I'm going to ask. How is it that you have this access?
I think that it's because it's because of well, if you're going to pirate something, you might as well pirate the most valuable resource in the galaxy. I think that that the black markets of the galaxy run on spice as the currency. That's what more or less you trade for. That's more or less what trades are calculated in, and I think that. I think, let's see, what's a name here? Munificent, Cordon is the kind of the prime underworld fixer who does not set the price of spice, but has cornered the market to the degree that spice flows through them.
Nice. All right. So that's our kind of figure, or not figurehead, but head of this underworld spice ring.
Yeah, and actually, I think I will add social culture. I think that a wide part of the galaxy relies on spice as a standard currency of trade.
Okay. And it may even be we can look on this, but it may even be that Space Wurm has kind of kept it out of common knowledge that it's also the transportation. What do you think there, Magnificent Da? Is everyone aware it also is a part of the transportation?
That's a really interesting question. Let me put that back in the hands of the spice people. I'd like them to decide, since it focuses more on their end of things. But yeah, I want to give that their authority to them on that.
Okay, Stephen, what do you think? Is it, it's already like our kind of our currency. It's a big part of culture, but do people know it is also the key to transport?
I think that there is a kind of hmm. I guess how well known is it that it relies on psychics that you rely on psychics to transport things?
I think that's known.
Okay. Okay. I think probably that there are some vague connections then, because of course if everybody knows that you take spice as a psychic booster, that's at least some common knowledge, then I think
Okay.
that there's a certain amount of like I think that it's probably not I think that there's probably not like super common knowledge, but anyone that knows enough about of the uses of spice can probably put two and two together.
Okay. I like that. I like that. And I'm guessing then that it's kind of how to take that knowledge from the spice and using it and putting it into the transportation
Yeah,
to
because I kind of
practically use it is the thing that Space Worms really got
yeah, because I kind
the
of like the
cliche.
idea that there's a common like that lay mystics and whatnot will take it all over the galaxy, not being aware that Space Worm is trying to corner the market on it, but has failed to so far.
Excellent. I like that as well. Okay, cool. So we have some questions there. So, Patrick, why don't in the spice questions, is there something you would like to find out about?
Let's see. I would like to know because obviously Golden Tier is tied to the spice professionally and for their sort of empire here. But why is the spice so important to you personally?
I think that the Broken Tears take their name from the region of space that spice is sort of mined in its gaseous state from. That it's the one sort of source of wealth that passes through this kind of backwater part of the galaxy that is usually only frequented by smugglers, thieves, and criminals. And I think that it's the wealth that flows out of the Broken Tears. And so it's important. It's important so far in that it's the lever of power that the Broken Tears, that region of space, has over the galaxy.
Mm,
So
cool.
something like native to that area that they managed to force into being powerful and profitable and giving them a way up out of it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Wonderful. And Magnificent Da, is there a question you would like to know about the spice?
No, I'm good with what has been settled. It seems like it fits in with my conception of things.
All right. And I'm going to ask you, Moonicorn, and this is an opinion of Moonicorn. What is the first thing that would happen if the spice suddenly became unavailable?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the first thing that would happen is that um, once those last ships went through, it would only be those aliens that have the sort of small scale teleportation that would be able to move around, and interstellar travel would end abruptly for most of the thing. So it would be like incredibly, like there would be entire planets that would have nothing. Those garden planets, for instance.
So you think that first
system-wide starvation, things like that.
So the first thing would be the very practical problems.
Yes, and it would happen very quickly.
Love it.
Who would carry bread to the populace from my agri-planets?
Exactly.
Spice must flow. And so, I think it sounds like we've got a pretty good idea of spice. I'm going to open up, and is there anything, Stephen, more that you feel like that you'd like to define on this, or do we seem to have a good grasp?
No, I think that works.
I like it. Okay, cool. All right, we're going to move over to you, Bethany. Why don't you tell us your character, and then we're going to hear about the aliens.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so my character is Umbri Fade, the mutant, who, let me move that a little bit. Yeah, their mutations are psychic powers, chameleon skin, and wings. And by wings, there's a particular like animal that I had in mind. That it's more like just a webbing of skin that lets them glide. It's called a flying lizard, but it really just sort of can jump a really long way and land slowly. And I think that's what they have it. They can't really like take off from the ground and fly upward. So that's their mutations. Their moves are, well, there's use a mutation. And I like that I have to actually roll to use these mutations. Do something dangerous, same as everybody else's do something dangerous, I believe. Oh, my stats, sorry. My stats are human, inhuman, and monster. +1 in human and inhuman and -1 in monster. I can consult my knowledge, which is that okay, cool. Yep. If I succeed on that, either the GM or another player tells me what I need to know. On a 7 to 9, the GM tells me something useful or interesting, but also something I don't want to hear. Suffer harm. One of the kind of the interesting one of this is that one of my suffer harm things is to accidentally open the wrong thing and have it take over my whole screen. There we go.
I was going to
Is
say
to
that's
have
a
a
very appropriate thing for you, but then you're actually doing it.
Yeah, that's what I was. I had clicked somewhere or something, and it didn't do what I wanted it to do. But it's to have a mutagenic reaction. I randomly choose a person at the table, and they say how my body changes in response to the harm.
Oh, that's cool.
I can also try to convince people, and I can help and interfere. And my special move is adapted, which is that I can survive in some environment that is hostile to humans. And I'm actually thinking that this is like the hyperspace in between space within the wormhole psychic network
Nice.
thing.
Excellent.
So like I can actually go through it and stop in the middle.
Ooh, I love it. Oh, that is so cool. Do you have a thought for your mutations?
Yeah. So one of my mutations is psychic powers, which is why I was thinking that like that. Chameleon skin. I can just change colors, and the like gliding wings.
Do you think your wings, since you say you can kind of deal inside the psychic maelstrom, could you fly outside of a ship into it? Does it allow you flight in the hyper?
Yeah, I think that's what gives me like that's probably the only way I can move around. I like it, yeah, in the psychic maelstrom, because that's pretty much what it is, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's I think I need those to move around. Like they just kind of slow my fall, in normal reality.
I like the idea that in the psychic maelstrom, they're beautiful wings that like stretch out and you have very fine control. And
yeah, I'm gonna post a video that is what I was thinking of when I was thinking about this. But like, and they look like this, in normal space, and then yeah.
There we go.
I probably don't spend a ton of time there, but
Ooh.
like it's probably pretty weird even for me. But
oh, that's nifty. That's super cool. Okay. All right. I'm gonna ask. You're a mutant. Does that mean you are unique? Are there other mutants?
That's a good question. Like I wonder if maybe I'm just some sort of weird hybrid between two different kinds of alien.
I like it. Well, then let's make these aliens then.
Yeah.
All right. So looking at our fronts, the aliens front. Yay. And I am always glad that we have aliens in the game. And let me get down to if there's any special notes for if it's a PC. Yes. So PC linked to aliens. When the PC arrives at a location that's completely new to the players, ask Space Wurm or the player linked to the front if there are aliens here. If there are aliens, ask them what role these aliens play. Have them choose from the roles selected at the start of the game. And if you're completely new at the location, if they don't include those. Okay. All right. The PC link to this front should also be associated with a specific group of aliens. So you say a hybrid. What were the two alien races that make your mutant?
So I'm thinking one of them would have to be the aliens already mentioned who have some limited teleportation abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed like almost everything about that, other than that they existed. So,
yeah, I think that we had. Let's see, Sherry, I believe you defined that down. You want to tell us?
I just said that there were some aliens that could do that. So I had not specified anything. I just knew that I like the idea that that's where the camouflage comes from, and that they can do the teleportation. So, if that makes any sense.
Cool.
Okay.
Color shifting teleporting aliens. Excellent.
So, what is the other alien group? The one that gave you the wings?
Let's see. I'm looking at these different. What are some ideas? Okay, it doesn't actually have. I think that they are relatively unknown, a pretty small population on a planet that few people actually visit, because I don't think they're super involved in commerce, except for a few who have mostly are mostly working with the teleportation aliens.
I like that. So
I think there's like an alliance between those two groups of aliens.
Like they found them because they are able to get to them, and
yeah, exactly. I think that like maybe humans have just never been to their planet. They don't even necessarily know where it is because they have this alliance with the teleporting aliens, and that's how they have gotten around.
I love it. Oh, that's fantastic. Alrighty then. Let's see which role. Let's see. Space Wurm doesn't control players' characters. Link picks 2 or more roles from the lists for aliens to play. If more than one PC is linked to alien, blah 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 blah. All right. What roles do the aliens in our galaxy play? And you can choose 2 or more.
Okay. This is like relative to the humans.
Relative to the humans, since aliens are not under the control of Space Wurm, that means they're not part of the. They're not universally part of the Imperial throne.
Okay.
So we can have them outside and inside.
Okay. So I think some of them are subversives. I mean, they're one of the few groups who could still travel without the spice. So like they're kind of the key to subversion.
Are they librarians?
I love it. Subversive. And another one?
Are they invaders, overlords, slaves, trade partners, symbiotes, hostile indigenous life? I mean, if humans ever found the planet that the one species lives on, I'm sure they'd be very hostile. But they're not hostile like outside of their planet. They're just very defensive of their own. Cold War standoff doesn't seem to apply. It would be interesting, but so I think they're trade partners.
I like that.
And subversives. Maybe it's the same aliens who are both, or maybe there are factions. Not sure which.
I like the idea. Maybe there are factions, but we'll kind of define down a little bit then. So let's ask. I'm going to ask. Yeah. How many types of... We've already seen that there are at least 2, so there's more than one type of alien. But do we have, like, lots of alien races out there? Or is it relatively few that the Imperium has encountered?
I mean, there's probably... I think there are a lot. I think there are only a few who are either have a large enough population or a strong enough technology or are interested in the affairs of humans enough for the Imperium to care about. But I think there are a lot, and they are traveling around in limited numbers at least.
I like that. That's very cool. Very cool. Stephen, is there a question you would like to ask to define out our aliens a little?
Let's see here. Yeah. What prevents humans and aliens from interacting? What brings them together?
Ooh, that's a good question. What you think, Bethany?
I think in some cases, they live in very different environments. Like the aliens couldn't survive in the oxygen and nitrogen air combination that humans need, or they require some ridiculously hot temperatures to be mobile, or they freeze in temperatures that humans thrive in.
I love that. That's super neat. So, because it makes so much sense that physiologically, there's just reasons that aliens wouldn't, we shouldn't all be able to walk around the Enterprise and everybody be just swell.
Yeah. Some of them would have to wear spacesuits on the Enterprise.
But what brings them together? What makes them willing to
speaking on
trade?
Lowell's behalf, clearly love of magnificence.
Some of them are definitely, supporting the Imperium.
But anything else? Because there are also subversives, as you said.
Yeah, what do you think brings them together?
So I think, in the case of the teleporting aliens, they're useful to humans. I think trade is, even though they might not have exactly the same physiological needs, they probably need a lot of the same raw materials.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Okay.
It's mostly trade, yeah.
Cool. All right. Patrick, a question you would like to have answered?
Yeah, I'm sort of curious. How do the aliens feel about each other? Like, is there this united, we all stand against the Imperial, or is it more of like a varied and there's war between factions and stuff like that?
I feel like it's varied, but there is definitely a strong, subversive faction. But they are not all of the aliens by any measure at all.
Gotcha.
Maybe there's been in recent times a movement towards more and more of these varied aliens coming together to stand up.
Yeah, I think so.
I like that.
So there's definitely a suspicion, though, of the power of the Imperium. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they tend to be more suspicious of the Imperium than they are of each other.
That sounds interesting. Yeah, that's very, very cool. And Moonicorn, Shinema, how do you feel about the aliens? Are they part of the expanse of folks that Moonicorn goes to, or are they different?
I think that Moonicorn is most comfortable around some of the aliens. Like the Harmonies tell her that she's an alien, but when she draws herself like human. So does that make any sense? So she has a sort of confused sense of things. in that. Or she doesn't feel it's confused. It's her harmony is that.
I like it.
So, but I think that, like, who is the person that she wants to sleep next to? Like, so she feels comfortable. That would probably be one of the aliens. Yeah. So.
Neat. Very, very cool.
Well, the aliens, they're so much more furry and cuddly than humans.
Or not. Spikes are okay too. It's just have to have more comforters between you.
And I'm going to ask you, Space Worm. We have all of these different alien races, and we have kind of the front of the aliens that are outside of the Imperium. But are there alien races inside of the Imperium that have been sort of assimilated, and so in effect aren't alien anymore? And second, B, is why did your father not expand to take in all of these alien races?
I think, in fact, that my father's fall and death came from a push to do just that, and his hubris that has shown us that way. I think that there are some aliens who are respected and are amongst. We don't. That work with us, that we don't enumerate them, because there are some aliens that owe allegiance to us, but still operate outside. They give us information. We don't want to put anyone at risk.
Excellent. Love it. All right. So then we go down to our alien features. What makes someone an alien appearance and all that sort of thing. But Bethany, this is going to be you choosing one of either conflicts, different food, different locomotion, or other strangeness to kind of define down one of the alien races.
I mean, we've kind of already got the teleporting or shifting between dimensions.
Right.
Thing,
I think that's
so.
We have one race we know for sure does that.
Yeah. I think there is a race that feeds off cosmic radiation and can only live in space.
Ooh. All right. We'll mark that. Patrick, pick one of the categories, and we're going to go ahead and click that teleporter shift for different locomotion. But because we know at least one alien race. And the reason I'm doing this is because since we have a multitude, this will be something for me to draw on when I bring a race in. I can look and say, oh, well, I'll be pulling in one of these or when we encounter them. So we're setting up kind of races y'all will see during the course of the game. So Patrick, pick one of those and give us a define.
So we talked a little about the different environments that they live in, and I think part of that's likely to lead to conflicts is that there are several of the alien races that routinely use unharmed substances that are poisonous to humans, and so there are things like radioactive elements or very toxic poisons that are just like in their Marmite, or what they wash their sheets in, or stuff like that, that in a casual interaction they may not remember to remove all of the arsenic-laced curtains or things from their house. So it just leads to these problems of things that the humans just come into contact with and immediately get sick or die.
Love it. Stephen, why don't you pick one there for defining one of our aliens?
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Yeah, we'll go with hibernate for decades or even centuries with social structures to compensate.
Ooh, that's a fascinating one. Ooh, y'all will definitely be seeing that race out there. They sound cool. Thank you, Stephen.
I love that one because, with the short lives and memories of humans, that makes like a different expectation of who remembers what. I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Moonicorn, Sherry, why don't you give us a defining trait of an alien out there? And you are muted, my love.
Darn it. Okay, so I definitely think that trading memories and personalities with each other regularly is awesome, by the way. that if you know them, if you know one of those aliens and you meet them again, they may be someone else.
Oh, I like that too. Like Dax from Deep Space. That's cool. All right. And Space Worm.
Yes.
Define us one of these alien races, please.
I think because our wonderful mutant has described that they are sort of take elements from a couple of alien species, that there has to be one that can hover and actually fly fully and more freely. That some of that maybe comes from.
Ooh, all right. Excellent. Thank you very much. And I think that sounds like we've got our alien front. We seem like we have a good idea. We have lots of alien species out there. The ones outside of the Imperium are suspicious of the power of the Imperium, and they have a variety of powers, but we know at least a couple of them that are able to do things that could be a little thorn in the side of our great space worm, thus spurring perhaps them to take them over. So let's go to you, Stephen, and we're going to get to hang on. We've already done that, didn't we? Did we define down the spice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look at that. I was like, oh, we have done that. I'm sorry. So, Patrick, it comes to you, my dearest heart.
It's me.
And we're doing cybernetics, which machines with minds of men, computers, bionics, robotics, and all the most intricate machines fall into this category. Speculation about the future relationship between humanity and machines has driven science fiction since its inception. So now we're going to get to decide a little of what's going on here. The player whose character is linked most to cybernetics, which we're going to say is you, chooses which technologies are advanced. So advanced means a player can and should invent any sort of technological wonder that would be connected to that technology. It'll be stuff we can do out there as we're playing. That's going to be in the big realm. So you can choose one or more, Patrick. What's advanced in our world?
So first, just as a finish up on my character,
Mm-hmm.
for my special move, I went with Dauphine, which means there's another one of Space Worm's moves that I can use. And because Space Worm went with that lovely collector move, I think I also have a very enticing collection. Now, it might be a little bit harder for me to pull on mine than Space Worm, but of course, Space Worm, the Magnificence. That's why he's the Magnificence. But it ties in with my choice here because down lower talks about PCs linked to cybernetics, that there is a particular advanced technology that I'm closely linked to.
Correct.
And I think what that is replicants.
Ooh.
biotechnological sleeves and bodies, new things to walk around in when you travel across the psychic network to somewhere else. I basically just I invite people to shed their skins and try a new form, to try a new them. And so whether it's a body you want to try out, or whether it's a replicant that lures you in and as something you want to have around you, I have a collection of all these different synths and bio things and weird mutations and different like specialized forms for different alien environments. Oh, that's sort of neat. That would let some of the humans like travel around in these alien worlds almost in native form.
Mm-hmm.
Thought about that. Ooh, that's neat. I like that. So that is what I'm particularly tied to. I also think computers are advanced because we have to have cool sci-fi nonsense computers.
Okay. Any others, or is that got us?
I don't know. Does anybody else feel one of the others particularly strongly?
No, I like that combo.
Okay.
Everybody seem good on that then? All right.
So there's cool future tech for the others, but computers and replicants are just like crazy space magic.
Yes, well, dangerous for humans to travel alongside aliens without Space Force mediating wisdom. Yes. So that does mean, as Patrick said, we have future stuff on the other things, but like probably to think of robots, they're going to be very 50s sci-fi kind of robots, not enormously advanced. We don't have the fully cognizant AIs. We have probably, AI in a lot of what would be considered our realm of what AI would be. And bionics would be probably, we have some implants, but we're not seeing full-on cyborgs, that sort of thing. All right. So I'm going to ask well, I suppose I should ask, Patrick, who makes all of these things? Is there a specialized group?
I think Jocasta has managed to keep a fairly strict control over especially the cutting edge of replicants and these design bodies. Sure, there are some old basic designs and you're just run-of-the-mill get around on a new planet sort of things that have fallen into the public domain, such as it is. But I think with all of these tight controls on trading structures and market monopolies, I think she controls a lot of the means for them. For other tech things, I imagine all the like AIs, the bionics, the robots that are out there, sort of normal technology, are also generally made by the Imperial throne. They're the sort of things that they would offer to civilizations, to new systems, to new species, to be like, here are all the perks of joining the Imperialness. But they don't have anything overwhelming because that's not really their focus on stuff.
Right, not a front they have yet.
But computers, I feel like maybe there's a faction or a company or a force or something out there that's sort of behind the cutting edge computing technology.
So we have this kind of, is it a corporation? Is it some sort of like a cult? Or how is this thing that produces computers, and again outside of the control of Space Wurm.
Okay. So again, I think I'll tie back to the aliens. I think this sort of like magic quantum leap forward in weird sci-fi computing technology came from one of these alien races, just a species that had grown up in a totally different environment, had a totally different approach to computing and processing information, and brought about a sort of revolution to human society when they first met and interacted and started trading those ideas.
Nice. Okay. Bethany, is there one of those questions that you would like to hear an answer to?
So I'm not. I could interpret this two different ways, and I guess I'll just leave it up to whoever wants to answer it.
Patrick.
Who is responsible for the most egregious abuses in the cybernetics industry? And I don't know if that's responsible for solving the problem or responsible for the abuses for causing the problem. But
Patrick?
I think I can see Jocasta having gone to some extreme lengths to maintain her superiority over the tech that she has.
So you think that you've done some things with those replicants that
I
are questionable?
There are rumors and unsubstantiated stories about how Solari Industries has been involved in some of these unfortunate actions. But obviously you can't link anything back to Jocasta personally because she hasn't been involved in any of this. She is horrified when she finds out about some of the abuses that the shadier parts, the shadowy, distant corners of her company might have possibly been involved in or standing near. Who could even say?
Excellent. And Moonicorn, what bothers you about the way these technologies are used?
I think that, particularly with the replicants, that they are like a empty sleeve, and that essentially she's fine when there's someone in them, but it's wrong when they're abandoned. If that makes any sense to her, that is a place for a harmony, and there isn't one. So it's like it's been taken out, and it's wrongful.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Yes.
Because they are biological, aren't they? At least.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So they're soulless body.
Partially.
Yeah. So it's a soulless body.
Yeah. What happens to them when the person that's riding them leaves? Jocasta.
I mean, they power down into a resource minimum sort of holding cycle. What happens to a phone when you leave the room?
Oh, I love it. Oh, I see why you might be a little bothered, Moonicorn. Space Wurm. Do you allow replicants in your? Do you have them in your circle? Do you? Do the people that like your ambassador? Do you use these replicants?
If the ability to project one's consciousness into a replicant body rather than sending the self there has inherently increased our ability to exert control over distant systems, and so it is a positive thing. We keep it out of the places where it is unnecessary, but for it has allowed us to extend the reach of the Imperium.
Nice. Jacosta's just serving so well in the Imperium. And Stephen, I'm interested to know, with the pirates, with your organization, these advanced computers would be enormously helpful, and you have kind of an ear to the black market. How does your organization approach these advanced technologies of the computers?
I think I think our primary interest in them are their weaknesses rather than using them ourselves. I think we spend most of our time investing in things that like AI scramblers and things like that in order to disable ships. Excellent. While running on simpler systems.
Very cool. All right. Sounds like we have an idea then of our cybernetics in this world. We have these replicants that are around. Sometimes there's warehouses full of powered down ones. Sometimes there's replicants walking the street. Who knows?
Sometimes Jocasta arranges them in entertaining tableaus.
One needs to have hobbies, I feel.
One Grecian inn.
An outlet for my artistic expression.
Those are tightly controlled.
Art must be monitored and controlled.
But I'm with you, Jocasta. I'm with you.
Do we feel like we've got a good idea then of the technology, these advanced things? Anyone need any questions answered? All right, sounds like we've got our cybernetics front all handled.
Well, actually, yeah. I guess when you say advanced AI, I'm actually want to clarify. Like, how do you envision the AI of this world? Is this a kind of very humanistic AI, or is this the kind of AI that you tend to see a lot more, say, in cyberpunk, where they're very inhuman and unknowable?
Well, we didn't advance AI, did you, Patrick?
Oh, I thought that you chose AI. Right, no, sorry, you chose computers. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
I was conflating the two in my head. Never mind.
Cool.
But I did want to ask, like, when you say, like, are these, like, computers that are advanced and very large, or is this the kind of, like, compact? Like, what kind of computing, like, what kind of computers do we see in the world?
I think they're not so much that they're compact, but that the materials and the substances that these alien-based computers are made out of are very integratable with a lot of different things. And I think there's sort of like advancedness comes around the things they can compute and the different factors they can take into account on trying to figure out things. They become very good at like statistical modeling, at predictive behaviors. It's almost like if you give them the right information, some of them can see the future. I think people sometimes ascribe mystical power or like personality to some of these computers.
Mm-hmm.
May I ask then, since we know that mail is one of the things that that Space Wurm is much freer, is much less under control, is that also reflected maybe in like computer communication? Is there like a quantum element so that computers can talk to each other, no matter what planet they're on, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's a doesn't matter the galactic distance internet sort of connection.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. Well, then it sounds like we've got all our fronts defined here. And keeping in mind, there will be hunters from fronts going after Moonicorn. There will be the desire of Space Worm to bring them under control. Now, we're going to go back through and we're going to create our bonds, connections, whatever we have set up in there. And Patrick, I'm going to start with you. And once we finish that, I think we're probably going to be pretty set for the evening. I think that'll be the evening, and we should be set up. So, Patrick, looking at your character, what is your bond setup?
So let's see. I'm pretty sure it's just may answer as many as you like. You can't answer the same question more than once, or more than one name in the same question. So I like who did you make an impossible promise to?
Ooh, are you going to point that at someone, or are you opening it up to the table?
I'm gonna open it up, or I'm gonna point it at Golden Tier, because that is a dangerous man to bend or break promises with.
What? Dangerous? As my reputation states, I'm generous and friendly to all who deserve it, Jocasta.
What sort of promise do you think you worked out of Jocasta?
I mean, merely that you would redirect some of your patrons' valuable trade ships through our territory. After all, you do need a firm supply of that spice that you so love, purely for medical use, I'm sure.
I see it as a service and a duty to Space Worm to lighten his load of what he has to consider, all the minutia of running an entire empire. It is more than even his magnificent shoulders should have to bear. Of course, he couldn't get
to. All right. Do you have another bond you wish to deal?
Note in there. Well, let's just turn it around. Who made a promise? Who made you a promise they have yet to deliver on?
Ooh. Throwing it to the table or pointing?
I'll throw that one to the table.
Anybody made a promise to Jocasta?
I will certainly say that I said that you were in this battle amongst the various pretenders, certainly my favorite, and I would lend you my support in this thing. But matters have gotten out of hand and things have become complicated.
I love that. Any others, Patrick?
I mean, it's so strange. It's almost frightening that this bond question is even in this playbook. It seems like nonsense, made up words. But who do you love more than Space Worm?
Who do you love more than Space Worm?
I think you have to choose.
Well, I think more is just, it's obviously not there. It's just a very different kind of love. I mean, Space Worm is so much one thing. He is what he is, but Chinama, they're just, every day is a different wonder and beauty and a constant reinvention. But of course, I'm always loyal to Space Worm. and he has my deepest and first love.
Wonderful. Do you have another, or is that going to end you out?
Let's throw another twist in there. Why not? Who lied to Space Worm on your behalf? I'm curious, Bethany. What do you think? What do you think Umbry lied to Space Worm about for me?
The location of some of those ships.
Oh, Umbry just misplaced some of those ships. You know how those alien mutants are.
So you think you were involved with maybe some of the shuffling the Golden Tier and
I mean,
doing?
I'm right here with psychic abilities. It would be, you'd be a fool not to take advantage of that.
Love it. All right.
That's neat. I like that.
Okay. So that got you, Patrick?
I think so, yeah.
All right. Bethany, what are your connection question sets?
Okay, I have the same setup. It's bonds.
Mhm.
Can't use two people with the same one, etc. So I have who adopted you as an infant, and we were talking about that in the chat. I think that was Jocasta, and I'm not sure if it's so much as that like she adopted me as like her child or as her pet.
I mean, pet is such a sort of random, meaningless relationship. A test subject is so much more personal.
Oh, my.
But of course, favorite test subject.
Oh, goodness. Do you have another you would like to give out?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So, who was a friend to you when others were prejudiced? Again, given the chat, I'm going to have to say that as I need to look at the names again. Chinama, who seems very comfortable with aliens.
That sounds perfect. Where do we think that that occurred? We're not gonna, we don't have to go into great detail, but Moonicorn, where did you see this injustice going on?
Ooh, let's see here. I think actually in the psychic maelstrom, which is where she is the most beautiful, without any doubt, and a lot of the apparitions tried to chase Umbry out.
Ooh, okay. And then so I'll ask, Umbry, when Moonicorn, took this stand for you,
Mm-hmm.
Where did you take Moonicorn from there? What did you do to show kind of your appreciation?
So this is another bond that I'm not actually, but I don't want to show her the hidden ruins because I already have. I took her to the hidden ruins.
Excellent. All right. Do you have another bond you wish to throw out?
Sure. Let me see. I'm trying to think of who do I want to prove my humanity to? I mean, I I'm not sure how much it would matter to Space Worm whether I was human or not.
I mean, what does human mean in this case? Humanity
Right,
mean in
yeah.
I mean, you can define that. Do you, if it is Space Worm, are you saying, that show Space Worm you're part of the Imperium? Or do you think that you would rather have that with someone else?
I'm actually like, yeah, what does I guess that is a question. Like, what does humanity mean, like, in this context?
It means a subject of Da.
Yeah, okay. I certainly want Magnificent Star to believe in my humanity then.
Okay. And we'll come to finding out how Da thinks of you when we get to Space Worm. But tell me one thing you've done to try and show that.
Oh, good question. What? Okay. Let me look at these fronts that he's in charge of. I mean, I think I have. I think I've like delivered some of this contraband art. Like diverted it instead of diverting it to Golden Tier. I think I diverted it to Magnificence Da.
Nice. That seems a very good means of doing that. That's very cool. Do you have any other you wish to put in, or?
Let me see here. Well, I'm not sure if they're friends. Because I think in this case, Yocasta is probably my boss. What is the relationship like between Golden Tier and Yocasta?
Well, Jocasta is a valuable business partner. And, of course, a closer friend.
Okay, and in that case, Golden Tier is friends with my boss.
Excellent.
I feel like Golden Tier definitely has to have something over on Jocasta right now for that deal that he managed to work.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And does that feel like you've got all the bombs you'd like to test?
Jocasta, I would never think of turning... friends don't turn friends into imperial authorities. So, of course, we are friends, don't you think?
Yes, such friends. So friends. Very quiet. Quiet friends.
So let's move to Golden Tier. You set up, if I believe, is how yours is set up. Do you have anyone who owes beyond?
I don't think I get anyone that owes me beyond at the start. Does it? Do I?
Let me make sure.
Because it does. Yeah, I'm looking at the PDF, I think, and yeah, there are a bunch of ways to get on my O list, but I
think you're right.
Yeah, but you end up as a heads up if people want to look at my move. You end up on my O list when I do something that you ask me to. I do a favor for you and deliver. Or when you break your word to me, like failed send some of your dad's ships for me to steal.
Look, there's just a problem with timing. Things are running a little slow. I'm not delivering. I just haven't delivered yet.
Very good. All right. Then we'll shift over. Magnificent Da, you have a different setup. If you would go through it and set it up, and I'll be able to hear you, but I'll be off camera.
I have to decide whether I treasure you or I consider you currency. And so
I am obligated to say that Moonicorn I treasure. They are an important rival in these things. But I do think that Golden Tier and, quite frankly, Jocasta are currency to me.
What?
But Umbri, I think I see potential there. They could rise up. This melding of different forces. I have seen that they could be a strong person standing at the right side of the throne.
Oh my God! I know you're not trying to pass me over for my child.
You mean your test subject? That's what you called her in private.
Deep and personal, abiding relationship that's based in science.
Jocasta, currency is merely currency travels, currency spends. Who would want to spend their life as someone's treasure?
I will not be spent by anyone.
Fair enough.
I take great pride in my existence as currency, dear.
Delightful.
Love it. All right. And Moonicorn, your bond setup.
I think that I have to do this in the order of how this is all rolled out. So, who has been my friend the longest? And of course, it is Umbri, because I have seen her in the psychic maelstrom and always admired them. And I think that when I got the chance to, then we became friends. I followed her. I followed them home. So, yes, and suggested that we take a nap because I really like sleeping sometimes.
I am covered with tiny smooth scales. That is
It's lovely.
texture variation.
Each one looks very different. Look, I made a sketch of these 16, not at all alike. Let's see here. Who are you trying to rescue and from what? So spending time with Umbri means being in the vicinity of Jocasta. And Jocasta is, how to describe this? She is incredibly disharmonious. And she has not been, how should we say, moving around her axis in any sort of sensible manner in any of the times that I've seen her. So I need to rescue her from that and help her find her sympathy with the universe.
Everything's fine. Everything is going just fine.
Look, even your voice is cracking. Yes, so it would be Jocasta. And then who do I owe a debt to? I owe it to... I want to be sure I get the name, Golden Tier, because he was able to give me this thing he called Spice that was the only thing that would, at least temporarily, get Jocasta's axis back in place. And so he was invaluable in that time, and I may have to avail upon him again in the future. Because boy,
of course, dear. As long as you're willing to run up the tab, I'm willing to provide.
Most kind. And let's see here. And and I wiped that out somehow. How do you do that even? Oh, there it is. It's back. Okay. And then who have you heard the most stories about? Being in the household of Umbri and Jocasta, there's only one person who I've heard stories of, Magnificent Da. I have no sense of Da as any sort of imperial
person. Is Chinama literally crashing at Jocasta's playing swap?
They're very hard to kick out. They just keep showing back up.
And I don't think Moonicorn has any sense that Magnificent Da is the emperor, the great Wurm.
Clearly, he's just your dad. That's why you call him Da.
That's why Umbri calls him Da. Yes.
Oh, I love this. I will say, because they are important mechanically to you, if any of those other questions seems something you'd like to play with, you can put down people's name more than once.
Again?
Um,
Let me see. I didn't know that. I just assumed it was only
Right.
once.
no, you can only put one name per question, but you can
Okay.
put
And I think
And,
you can only have one bond technically per character. Mechanically.
Oh, so yeah. So
Right.
I have
okay.
one per character. So I'm good for now. And then I can just use those other ones as things. But yeah, I like the whole idea that she lives in this house. She has no sense that it's particularly spectacular or spacious or anything like that. And Magnificent Da is just one of the people that lives there, and everyone tells me about him.
And keep in mind, when we reach about that halfway point, you'll get the chance to reform bonds. So it is probably in your interest to use them along the way so that you can do that halfway through.
Right. That sounds lovely.
Well, I gotta tell you, I love this very interesting family drama we have going on here. This is a very, very interesting and a much tighter little story than I thought it might be. We've created our galaxy, a lot of super cool things in there. And we're going to be ending tonight. And we'll start up play next time. I will say real quick, just so we're aware of what we do. As all things should, we will begin with Space Wurm in the very first scene. In their place of power, showing off their magnificence when they discover something has gone wrong. And that will be
There's one missing, perhaps.
that will be our beginning, and everyone has the potential to be there except Moonicorn. You will be the only one who is not in the scene for certain, but we can have others in the scene if we feel like that's going to be. So have in mind what we see, Lowell, of the Magnificent Daw's great place of power when we start next time. Folks, I am very excited about how this is going to go. I'm going to end the broadcast now, and we'll be back in a week. So thank you, and I'm ending the broadcast now.